but when it comes out,
right.
I know.
And that's
delicious.
Trusting the process is, so when things are going really funky, trusting the process.
Yes.
You know, and that's it's so critical to, and when things are going really well, trust the process.
Yes.
But that maturity and that awareness, and for me now going through what I've gone through, particularly a lot happened in my personal relationships, which further allows me to trust process, because so many relationships I've had that I thought this is over and that it's not, and in fact they're better. Or relationships, I'm gonna have this forever, like you're gonna be, and they're gone now, and they're gone, and you know, and I'm like, you know, but I'm fine, you know, and I'm good, and I don't feel resentful or any of those things. It's just really taught me, you know, God is bigger. I usually say God, universe, because to me they're kind of hand in hand. It's bigger, and it's not something that I'll ever be able to completely wrap my arm and my thoughts around.
But sometimes that becomes too much to want to do that.
Well, you know what?
It becomes overwhelming.
For me, it doesn't now. It did before, but I think, and this is where the spiritual retreat, as big as it is, it's still very personal, and it's very, because what I believe that, you know, we are all completely extensions of God. So we all have the power. God is not existing out here. God is first in here. Now he's existing, the energies are existing out here to orchestrate all that's kind of happening in the world and stuff. But the first God is right here. Mm-hmm. And so you have the power to do anything.
Absolutely.
Anything you want. And so if he starts feeling too big, stop there. Stop the searching here. All you gotta do is go right back here. Because he's also so small that he's not so small, but so innate that you don't have to keep looking out. You just need to trust yourself. So when you feel something, when you sense something, when you gut something, that's God. That's right, God trying to give you that, so that you're not always swimming out here trying to figure it out.
But I think sometimes when we say, then I know for me as well, the spiritual aspect, that God is almighty. Yes.
Right.
But I feel sometimes those are so often said, often shared. Sometimes I can't, like, what does that look like? Like, you need to know what that looks like.
And I think that's interesting, because I think that's the spooky God, like that.
That's what I mean.
Right, yeah, and churches do a really poor job of. That's why that spiritual retreat finally allowed me to see that and put that in a very simple, innate space.
You know, we all receive God differently. Some spiritually, some in a traditional way. It has to be within a church and all.
Right.
But I feel like when I talk to people, sometimes their actions don't follow maybe their desires, right? The desires of their heart, because you're so overwhelmed with this big entity that it's telling you what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And not always are we feeling that, because like you were saying before, we're human.
Right.
So I can sometimes, it's like you can't eat the cow in one bite. I gotta take chunks and pieces.
Right.
Trust the process. You know what it does? It keeps me in the moment.
Absolutely.
Well, it keeps me focused on that very one thing that I need to focus on and trust. Not you and him and them, but what the current position we're in.
The now is critical, and for me,
without getting so overwhelmed and because you know, freaked out and scared and afraid and anxious.
And I think that, you know, I guess for me, the now is God. Like that's how I relate to God, is the very now, because I know that God, time is, in my opinion, God has nothing. Time is a human thing. Yeah. Like time is a human thing. Yes. So God is not.
His time is not
right.
Time.
No, it's not. It's a human thing. So for me to get caught up in this, all this out here is getting caught up in the human function that we have to kind of live in. But that's not the course that takes us to our purpose. You know, it's just kind of the vehicle.
So if you look at, like, if we're on this prayer or this focus of trust the process, and we talk about these journey helpers, and God is in his own time, right? Look at the trust, even if we weren't actively trusting, there were
Oh,
others. Look
yeah.
at your process.
Yep.
Look at this process. If we say, I couldn't have handled it then.
Right.
I didn't have the tools I needed then.
Right.
I wasn't as mature then.
Right.
But look at where I am now and all that's happening. Look how much anxiety we would
right. Had we known. But this is what I'm saying. This is why God doesn't even. That's why I said you can't dream the stuff that God has for you, and that's why I try to tell people.
I love that now.
You know, you can't because if He revealed that He's wiser, He knows your human self can't handle that. Because you would stop. It would be too much. It would be like I can't do that. Right. Never mind. I mean, we do it anyway.
Yes.
We do it with simple shit. Like I can't do that diet. That's
right.
I got to
well,
not
look at
eat
your
for-
process, right? Look at all of this. If you had just heard. Trust the process, Kenya.
Right.
Trust the process, Kenya.
And when I was in the agony of it all, I would be like, God, what are you? I would write and journal and talk out loud to God and like, what is it that you want me to? I don't understand. You know, like, what is it that you want me to do? And I think that I couldn't hear God then because I was so anxious about. What is it I'm supposed to do? Like I couldn't shut up. Like it was like that kind of manic. It's like shh, just stop. You know.
Well, because everybody else's life was lining up.
Yeah.
The way we
or what we or
was
on the outside.
Yeah.
Right.
And so even as I do the shows and I do the podcasts and I talk to different women. And about unleashing that unleash part is because it's so many locked, it's like they put it in a closet and locked it up and threw away the key.
Yeah.
And some women are very fearful about, they don't even want somebody else to use the key to open it up. And it has nothing to do with, some of it is not even a career thing. Some of it is just,
it really is just you thing.
Yeah.
It's
a you
and
thing.
I really see it at this age, being in your 40s, being in my 40s. I just see so many people struggling with being themselves, really struggling with how do I do that, and trusting the process and trusting themselves, trusting that is good enough, and that you're not needing all these things that you feel like you need before you can do that,
Well, that's because someone said, I do believe that we are guilty and we are victims of the societal norm of what it's supposed to be. I think that there are some women I've met who are very clear about, no, this is the lifestyle that I want.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the type of husband and the type of children. Yeah. This is the type of friends that I want. These are the vacations.
Right.
And I think that they're going to be at the end of their life, old and gray and vacationing somewhere on the vineyard or
right.
That they're going to say, this is exactly what I wanted. Right. Because for those women, I think they got on the right train. Now, I don't know if it's the right train because that's how they were trained. Yeah. And I'm using train because there's a friend of mine I worked with. He said men. There are two types of trains. There's a train for men, a train for women. One man gets on his train and he gets on the right train. He knows exactly what he's doing, where he's going. Perfect. I know it's a setup. I know that I'm supposed to act like I don't know how to wash clothes. Right. And she's going to pick them up more. I know I'm supposed to act like I don't know how to put the toilet seat down. I don't know how to wash the dishes because guess what you're going to do?
Right.
As
my wife,
you're I'm on it. But women, we just didn't get on the correct train. So I guess my question for you is, do you feel like you got on the right train, or do you feel like you got on the right train at the right time? Two-part question.
At what point? Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I don't know if I believe now that there's ever a wrong or a right, because the process is constantly teaching you. So it can feel wrong. It can feel wrong, but ultimately it was right because you needed whatever growth thing, whether you're aware of it or not, you needed to learn in the way that you learned. You know what I mean? Yes. Now, I know that I'm aware of that. Like I try to really take awareness to that. I think a lot of people are not. And so since the awareness isn't there, they can't understand the failure for what the failure is really, or what, not really what the failure, but what the turn is really trying to teach. And so they get stuck in these really weird spaces, and now they're kind of building on a stuck notion and not, so the awareness is key. And so I don't know if I've ever been, if I'm on the right train I just know that if I trust God enough now to know that if I start going, for me, I say ego, spirit. And this is one of the things that I really learned in my spiritual retreat. Ego is that human. Like, I don't believe in a devil. I don't believe that there's a devil that goes around and tries to taunt us. And, but I do believe that our ego will do whatever it needs to do to do what it thinks it needs to survive. So whether that be bad, evil, negligent, because ego is just trying to, it's just trying to get it for the moment. It's just trying to, and it's really what is allowing you to be human. Because so that error and all that, that's the ego is driving that. And it has a purpose, because it needs that, because you can't be human unless you have it. But you're not just ego, you're also soul. And so soul doesn't have time. It's what we were talking about with God. It's like, you messed up, okay. It's still sitting there catching you, because it knows ultimately I only want the good for you. So if, I'm not going to compete with ego. I'm not going to, but what I will do is try to nudge you and give you the awareness so that you can look at ego and recognize it when it shows up, so that you can say, okay, that's ego. Shut it down. Let me get back into the now. Let me get back into the process. Let me get back into whatever. And then, and what I was taught was that, you got to drive with soul, let ego sit in the back seat. The ego's got to be around, but he needs to be in the back seat. And not, and the moment you feel like ego is, and like last year I had a lot of crap going on, and ego was just at the steering wheel, just chicka, and it wasn't until, because I was going, things were still happening, right? And I'm still like, but something is feeling way.
But I was going to say, don't you feel that it's off? Yeah. I never looked at the ego and the soul that way, but I feel that it's off.
Right.
I'm not connected to the universe.
Right.
I'm not connected to God anymore.
Right.
I'm just doing my own thing.
And the thing is that, you can get a lot of successes in that. A lot of successes.
But you're not feeling any of it. You're not in tune.
Right.
I mean, there are times when my whole spirit blows up because I am in the right place, in the right zone, doing the right thing, and I'm right where I'm supposed to. I can say that. As sure as my name is Lavelle Smith Hall, I can say I am right where I'm supposed to be. And everything aligns.
Right.
And sometimes, when it's not that, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just showing up.
Right.
I'm not in tune.
Right.
I don't even feel in control.
Now, and I used to.
I don't feel
right. Well, and I think,
I'm like
I said,
I'm the passenger or the backseat rider in my own ship.
Exactly. And I think 80% of people are doing that.
Well, okay, I like that, because that's the truth.
Right.
Somebody else is governing. When we talk about these, we talk about mama is doing it, or daddy is doing it, women, or the husband is doing it, or the kids are doing it. Having these conversations. I love my kids dearly.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do. But once I stepped into what I'm supposed to do, I love you, son, but I can't promise I'm going to be at every game.
Absolutely, right.
I can't promise I'm going to be at every game. I'm going to sit there for the entire time.
Right.
I love you, baby, but every play and performance you're in, I'm going to try.
Right,
but mommy has to do what I need to do. And
right.
so no one any longer, because there used to be that, you're supposed to be there.
Right,
You know you're supposed to be there. Because what kind of mother are you?
Right.
And this is your only son, and he plays 12 games, and you're saying you can't be the one? What? Or this is your only baby girl.
No.
And you can't be at every play.
No.
What kind of mother are you?
Right. And I think it's really sad, because that's the culprit. I think there are a lot of women, particularly, are really stuck in that space of how do I be me knowing that I'm not fully being me, but I've got these kids and I'm supposed to do A, B, C, D, E. And I gotta do A, B, C, D, E. And I must do A, B, C, D, E, but not understanding.
Next door?
Right.
She's doing A, B, C, D.
On the outside.
Did you see that movie, The Other Woman?
Did I see The Other Woman? I feel